I'm back in my Edge browser, so I'm not logged in with my GitHub account. And if I reload now, we see that the public repository is visible again. This means without having any GitHub account, I can simply access the repository. Now go to code and then simply, clone the code by copying this, URL right here. Let's do this now and let's add some data and then let's see if we can, push this information to our actual GitHub project. As you can imagine, this might cause some problems, so let's see if this is really how GitHub works. For that, I'm back on the desktop and I'll create a new folder, maybe called push to public, so to public repo. Let me drag that folder right here and let me open a new Visual Studio Code window. Here we are, and let's drag this folder into it. Yes, we trust the authors. And let's close this maybe, and let's go to View, Appearance, and bring back the panel as we always do it. And let's now clear this. And with that, we can now actually run git clone. Now paste the URL, and let's see if this works. We are cloning it into Git Basics. If we check our Git status now, this is not working because we are in the push to public folder. So let's navigate into the GitHub Basics folder. And let's now again run git status. Yeah, now this is working. So nothing to commit. So let's see if we clear this now and maybe add a new folder into this master branch here. Maybe push public. And in this folder, we could add another text file, maybe just test.txt. And with this, we have something to commit. This means we could now add this change and also commit it. -m, and let's call it maybe added test text file to public folder. With this, this commit was added. And now we might be able to push this change to our GitHub project. And this would work now as we still have our access token stored on this computer and the credentials are saved. Therefore, what I do now is I'll go to the credential manager once again. There, go to Windows Credentials and now scroll down to the Git section. So right here. And here I delete both of these, GitHub related data. So yes, I want to delete this one. And then we'll scroll down again and also delete the second one here. And to be even more, precise right here, I'll now go back to my GitHub account. So to the logged in account, go to my profile and to the settings here, go down to developer settings, my personal access tokens, and I'll also delete this token here. So delete, yes, I will do this. So with this, we have no access related connection to this account now. This means this account, my local Git account, so to say, my computer, does not have any rights to basically access this GitHub project. Cloning, of course, was possible, but what about this push now? Well, if we go back to the project and now run git push as simple command, we have a local tracking branch here, therefore git push should actually be enough. So let's do this. And you see, here we need the personal access token now. So this means even if you have access to the public repository and the data in it, and even if you can clone these, pushing commits or changing the code, therefore, on GitHub is not possible without the personal access token. Before we enter this personal access token again now though, we should dive a bit deeper into GitHub's security logic here, because the token is only one important concept when it comes to interacting with GitHub from other accounts, so not from accounts who actually host or, well, basically own the repository. We saw that we can access public repositories easily, anybody can do that, but we saw that when we want to push commits to our public repositories, we at least need the personal access token. We have to dive a bit deeper into this topic now though, because we are now leaving the space of having our own local Git project and our own GitHub account and progress to the situation where one person, in this case us, has the GitHub account with the remote repository and another person accesses this project and wants to contribute or collaborate on this project. Let's do this step by step now, and let's start with the basics. We have our local Git user and we have our GitHub account. So let's start with the case where this is one person. We have our GitHub account and we locally, well, want to add a commit to this account now, a commit we created locally in Git. For this, and we know this, we need a personal access token. This personal access token gives us access to the GitHub account via Git. And that's very important to keep in mind at this stage. A personal access token created inside your account is very valuable. Well, if a wrong person, let's call it like this, gets access to this token, this person gets access, well, to your GitHub account. When creating the personal access token, you saw that we can specify which kind of access the token should grant. Nevertheless, if you grant a lot of access there, well, anybody who has this token has this type of access to your GitHub account. Therefore, the personal access token is your key to GitHub via Git. It's important to keep this in mind, so be careful with your personal access token. Nevertheless, for the case where you are working on your project locally and want to contribute to your own GitHub project, this is basically how it works. We saw this in the last module. Things become a bit more complicated if other people might want to work on our project, might want to contribute to our project on GitHub. As we saw, anybody can clone the code from the public repo, and if a person which is not officially part of our GitHub project, so this could be the open source case where somebody says, hey, I want to check this code and I fixed a bug for you, can I please add this commit now to your project? Then this person could be an anonymous person, so not a person officially being part of this project. And if such a person would like to add changes to our project, then this is a more advanced process, which we'll cover a bit later in the course. The other case, which we want to cover now also, is the case where we are the owners of a GitHub account, and another person, which is part of our team, accesses our code via cloning it, as we just did it, for example, and this person now wants to push this commit to our project. For this, we could, of course, create a personal access token inside our GitHub account and share this token with the other person. As I said, that's not the perfect solution though, because we might have multiple projects inside our GitHub account and we might not want this person to have access to these other projects. And therefore, GitHub offers more features for these collaboration cases. First, we have to differentiate here between the personal user account, which we have at the moment, and the organizational account. This means our account, so the account of the person who kind of holds the repository code, is a personal account, or the entire structure is part of an organization here. For the personal user account situation on GitHub, we always have to differentiate between the owner access, which would be the access of the person, well, who holds the code again, and the collaborator access. And the collaborator access is actually the case we are entering now. Because in here, a collaborator cloned our code, added a new commit, and now wants to push this commit to this GitHub project. And if this collaborator would be officially part of this project, so part of this project inside the personal user account, well, then this collaborator could create his own personal access token, because if the account is officially part of the project, then this collaborator simply needs access to his own GitHub account. And if this GitHub account has access to this specific project as part of the personal user account which holds the GitHub project, well, then this collaborator has access to all the repositories which are part of this project. This is the first case we'll investigate now, and after we understood how this works, we'll dive into the organization logic for such cases.